Hello everybody and welcome back yet again to another drum playthrough review. Thank you all for tuning in and stopping by. It's great to have everyone here. For those of you who are brand new, hello and welcome to these. My name is Nick. I'm a multi-instrumentalist, a drummer, whatever else you want to call me. And we like to do these because it's good to learn from drummers who are way better than us, drummers who have nearly perfect technique. So that way we can break down their performance, learn from their technique, and that way we can use that to make ourselves better musicians. And what better of a drummer do we have to check out today than the one that we are checking out today? So this is a drummer that I have seen live. He's now the drummer for a band known as Ne Obliviscaris from Australia, I believe Melbourne area. But here's the thing, this guy is a Frenchman. This guy's played for all sorts of amazing groups. He is known all around as a very high speed, high technicality drummer with some of the most amazing chops out there. Dude's an absolute beast on the drums. He's somebody that's been mentioned and has been brought up in the Drum Technique Academy for having excellent technique, and I think the dude is an absolute cool dude. And having watched him play live, I know that he's an absolutely beast drummer. Today we are checking out Kevin Paradis. Kevin Paradis has played drums for a lot of bands, including some of those known by the name of Benighted, Ne Obliviscaris, and many more. And this guy has been nothing but an absolute exceptional drummer as soon as he got onto the death metal field. This guy's been known for extreme speed, extreme technicality, all sorts of really crazy stuff, and being able to keep very consistent, very nice and relaxed, while also having very unorthodox technique. He has a very famous video out there talking about 100 different variations on a blast beat, and that video is really cool because there's a lot of cool things in there that you don't think about as far as different variations on blast beats that can really help spice up your playing, so that way it's not just the same boring thing. It definitely helped me to take a step back and to think about, hey, maybe I'm thinking about this in a little too narrow of a scope. And I highly encourage you to go watch that video because it can help you to kind of think things a little bit more thoroughly and maybe possibly change up a few things about your technique. But anyway, we're not reacting to that video today. No, instead, we're going to be reviewing a Benighted playthrough that this man did of a song called Reptilian. This is going to be an absolutely fast, blazing fast song. Knowing this man, he can play it with no problem whatsoever. Kevin Paradis has exceptional speed and exceptional capabilities, so I think this is going to be absolutely amazing. So without further ado, ladies and gents, let's take a look into the man's technique. Let's see what this man has to offer, and let's see just how dang awesome this guy is as a drummer. I've seen him live with Ne Obliviscaris. He's an absolutely insane drummer. Great speed, great technicality. Really chill guy, by the way. All right. Without further ado, ladies and gents, let us get into the video. Ooh.
Honey, it's time for dinner.
This is going to be a fun playthrough. Like I said, it's going to be fast. And he's using push-pull on that snare hand. Those are some big toms, by the way. And he's using 1 foot on that blast beat there. You'll notice too that those beaters are really blocky. Oh my gosh. You'll notice too when you're doing his foot technique, that's all straight ankle, by the way. All straight ankle. And he's not really, the beaters aren't really traveling very far away from the head. He's got the beater angle set up a little bit close to the head, and that's because he is a speed drummer. He's keeping very loose and a lot of wrist technique. I mean, he's got some strong wrists. Yeah, very good clean ankle technique. It's just very nice and loose. Also, that's some really strange setup as far as how big his toms are. His toms are huge. Very cool patterns there too. Also very good power on his blast beats too. Very groovy. Very groovy. Oh my gosh. I like how the vocalist is windmilling without hair. That just looks goofy. But yeah, this man as a drummer is extremely accurate. Very nice and loose too as well. A little bit of break guitar technique on that other hand too. Yeah, absolutely. What a cool playthrough. That was sick. I did enjoy that a lot. So yeah, man, Kevin Paradis. What an absolutely phenomenal drummer we got here. So let's take a look and break down his technique, why don't we? So for one, you can tell on his snare hand he was using a lot of good push-pull. Very good, efficient use of push-pull there, by the way. You could tell that he was keeping very relaxed and he was very nice and well-maintained on the drum kit. He wasn't doing anything crazy as far as big motions. He was keeping everything nice and tight to conserve energy, and that is absolutely necessary, especially for playing super fast stuff, especially like that. Granted, that wasn't a super long song. It was maybe only about total playtime, probably about 3 minutes, 35 seconds maybe at the most, maybe 3 minutes 30 seconds, which here's the thing, that's not really too bad for a song length, but when you're playing at that high of a speed, that feels like you're going on forever. His foot technique was super clean, and I think that that's what's absolutely great. That foot technique was very nice and loose. Really good, solid ankle motion. He was getting really good motion there. You could tell he was doing it really well because his knees were not moving when he was doing the ankle motion. It was all coming straight from that ankle, straight from the calf muscle. When you're trying to get good ankle motion, the best thing that you can do is try and take all the other muscle groups out of it except for your calf. It's kind of the same kind of thing as like when you're trying to go faster on the drum kit, with your hands anyway. You might, when you're playing a backbeat, be moving your whole arm in order to actually play the song. And when the song is slow enough, yeah, playing with your whole arm is fine. But when you're starting to get a little bit faster, you might, instead of using your full arm, start to use it more from the elbow. And when you're starting to come more from the elbow, after it starts to get a little faster, you might start coming from the wrist. And then after the wrist is starting to get faster, you might start using the fingers. As you're progressing to faster and faster subdivisions, you're going to start using smaller and smaller muscle groups in order to achieve that speed, because those smaller muscle groups are able to perform those twitch response motions, so that way you can achieve those faster speeds without having to expend as much energy. It's the same kind of purpose, and it's the same kind of reasoning when it comes to the foot technique. With your foot technique, if you're trying to go faster, you don't necessarily want to use your hip flexors or, anything like that, any large muscle groups when you're trying to play super fast. You want to try and keep it to the smaller muscle groups that have a little bit more twitch muscle response, so that way you can get a little bit better of a result that way. So with him, if you take a look at his foot technique and if you take a look at his ankle motion and all that, absolutely excellent. His ankle was just going straight up like that. It wasn't doing a whole lot of big movements or anything like that. Part of that has to do with his pedal setup as well. He has the angle of the beaters a little bit closer to the drum head, so that way he can get that response. And I guarantee that his spring tension is a lot higher than most other players, just because that way he can get a little bit better rebound on it, so that way his playing style is complemented a little bit more by that, because the setup of your equipment is ultimately going to be what allows you to play faster for longer. Just as long as you can build up the technique and you can build up that good solid, ankle motion and whatnot, once you're able to switch to a higher tension pedal setting, you're going to be able to start flying on there forever, because you want your gear to complement your play style. And this man has absolutely used his gear to help complement his play style in the best way possible. Very loose. He was very good about his timing as well, because even though that was a band where they're doing a lot of different timing changes and all that, he's very good about keeping on beat with it and not letting his technique, continue to, take him into faster tempos or anything like that. He holds really good restraint when it comes to the slower tempos, so that way he's not rushing or anything like that. He's keeping very good control over his timing, and he's keeping everything very nice and tight. And that's exactly what you want to do as a drummer. Your timing needs to be very nice and controlled, very nice and, well kept. You don't want your timing to be all over the place. Otherwise, it's just not going to be very enjoyable as a show. And also, you're not going to be very reliable as a drummer if your timing is all over the place. One thing that I know this man has done for sure is practice a lot with a metric metronome. Just sit down with some practice pads. I guarantee you just sit down with some practice pads, practice with the metronome for a little bit, like 20 minutes. You start to see timing a lot differently. All of a sudden, 200 BPM doesn't feel that fast anymore. After you've been playing for a long time under a metronome, there's just certain speeds that just don't seem fast anymore after a while. And that is because we start building in our head an internal clock, and we start building a metronome in our head so that way we can keep time better. And these are all things that you have to develop after years and years and years of playing. But you can tell this man has definitely put in lots of hours on the practice pads, absolutely going to town with a metronome. That is something I do highly recommend all beginning drummers do. Start with a metronome. Don't ever stop using a metronome. If you're just trying to sit down and groove out for a little bit and you want to try and come up with some new combos, then yeah, turn off your metronome for a little bit, just go ham. But when it comes time to when you're actually trying to practice and trying to get stuff down, metronomes are your best friend. Nothing will benefit you more. So yeah, what are some things that we can learn today from Kevin Paradis? Well, for one, obviously keep very loose. Consider your drum setup as well and consider your equipment setup. Make sure that your settings are going to complement your play style. Make sure that you're not overstraining or anything like that in order to achieve those higher speeds. Keep it as loose as possible. Practice with a metronome. Take a long time in order to practice with your metronome. Make sure that it's something that's essential and make sure it's something that's very centric in your practice regimens. Practice doing different time shifts and different metric modulation changes and whatnot, because that can help you make sure that you're keeping your tempo on point, especially if you're playing with a band that does a lot of different tempo changes and whatnot. Because being able to practice doing smooth transitions with those changes is ultimately going to be very beneficial to you and to your band. They'll really appreciate that. It really helps you become a much more solid and reliable drummer. And definitely when it comes to your ankle motion, take your bigger muscle groups out of the equation. That is something that definitely can be a hamper on, being able to achieve different speeds, is if you're trying to use larger muscle groups, because your setup is inhibiting you from being able to take them out of the equation. So definitely take all those into consideration. Think about a few things before you start, your next drumming adventure. And definitely for sure, just practice, practice, practice. That's all I can really say. And with all that being said, that's going to be the end of this video. So thank you for tuning into this one. Great job, Kevin Paradis. Now here's just a couple things you guys can do to support me. So for one, you guys can like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really helps out the channel a lot. You can also check out the playlist I have with videos similar to this and the playlist I have in the description with my band's Spotify page and my band's YouTube page. And with all that being said, y'all, that's the end of this video. So thanks for tuning in and stopping by. It's been great having you, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers and have a good night.